My name is Rachel Bryant, and I'm a teacher here at Benton High School in Bossier Parish, Louisiana. As an educator, I'm a big proponent of preparing our students for college and beyond. I love it when my students come back to tell me how valuable my class was for them in college, but also, and more importantly, how they use it to benefit them in their future careers. I teach AP English Language and Composition, and I truly believe that it's one of the most valuable and important classes for our students to take. All students can benefit from this course because it focuses on trying to teach our students how to read through the rhetoric that surrounds them. And then we take that a step further by teaching them how to actually use that rhetoric themselves in their own writings and in their own speaking so they can be just as persuasive as those politicians and influencers that surround us. As an AP teacher, I believe all students can benefit from the ability to critically analyze the world around us, creating not just better thinkers, but more critical citizens for our future. I also have the privilege of starting our school's newspaper and broadcasting class. In this class, I get to teach these students to use these same rhetorical skills in the journalism world. I love this class and I love these kids because I get to see these kids take on true leadership roles and implement their rhetorical skills on screen each week and in our newspaper. These kids are creating a true product that goes out to the world, and they get to see the benefits of their hard work each week in our broadcast in our newspaper. Today, you're going to see a lesson that means a lot to me. My juniors are constantly being berated with news and controversial topics on their TikTok feeds, their Instagram, and the media beyond them. And much of this news is biased and even misleading, so it's so important to teach our kids today how to properly disentangle those facts from bias, rhetoric, or even sometimes true manipulation of information. This lesson uses the big ideas and the main standards that are given by College Board for the AP English Language and Composition course. Today we're going to specifically focus on how Fox News and MSNBC, they'll take the same exact topic. Specifically, we're going to focus on climate change today. But how do Fox News and MSNBC take these same topics, climate change, and cover that same topic in vastly different ways? And how does the way they cover it influence our own interpretations of these real-world issues? On the AP English test, we've actually had climate change be one of the continuing topics that we see continuing to come up on their AP exam. So this is going to prepare them in a lot of ways and a lot of different facets. We're focusing, it's a little mini unit. We're still focusing on rhetoric, so that's not going away. It's still part of the class, but we're focusing specifically on how we see the media use rhetoric. Okay, so how does and what is the media? Like when you hear that word media, what do you think of?
News channels.
News channels. Anything else?
Social media.
Social media even, because you do get your news from social media, right? Absolutely. Where's your social media that you're getting your news from? TikTok. Let's be honest. Y'all are watching and you're getting your news from TikTok. I'm not going to lie. That concerns me just a bit. Okay? So that's really the focus of today, is to try to get you to see how is TikTok and Instagram and traditional news constantly influencing us. How is it actually changing our opinions and forming our opinions? Because that can be a dangerous thing if you're not thinking for yourself and instead you're just bombarded with this TikTok feed of news and you just start to blindly believe it. So truly, that's really the focus of this, is to get you to read through a lot of that manipulation. Today, we're going to focus on climate change, okay? And I'm going to be really honest with you. There's a couple of reasons why we're talking about climate change. In the last 7 years, I have seen climate change pop up on the AP exam. Does that make sense? And so especially for our area, sometimes we don't know all the things about climate change. So you're going to not just learn about what Fox News does and what MSNBC does, you're also going to learn about what climate change is, because I want you to be informed enough if it happens to be on your AP test like it's been a lot. Okay? So let's start our paper. We are actually going to watch this because Laura Ingraham is a political pundit. And she does a lot of broadcasting, so we are going to watch this as much as annotate it. But first, before we get started, let's flip it on the back. Flip it on the back with me. When we analyze anything, what do we start with? What do we start? That's right. Draw the triangle. Get it on that paper. What goes at the top of that triangle? Okay. What's her name? Laura Ingram. Okay, now you don't know a lot about her, and that's fine. But as we watch, I want you to pick up what you can tell about her. What does she value? What does she believe in? Okay. Now what's this part of the triangle called? What's that? That's our audience. Okay. So again, as we watch, we need to focus on who is she appealing to here. But you kind of already have an idea. If this article is specifically from Fox News, then we should already know a little bit about the audience. When we look at media and the news, we're really going to focus on the far ends of the spectrum first. Okay? So with that in mind, what end of the spectrum is Fox News usually? It's usually more conservative values. Okay, let's flip it. We all know what's this side of the context. Okay, so you're really going to have to read for the context because right now we haven't started reading. You just know because I told you that what's the main topic we're dealing with? That's it. That's all you know. So you're really going to have to pick up a lot of context as you read. Okay, and then what goes in the center? Her purpose. What's her goal? What is her goal here as we watch and listen and read? I'm just going to let it play because I think it kind of speaks for itself. We're about to start annotating. I want you to see your focus. You should be discussing throughout this entire process. I want to see in your discussions, because I'm listening, I'm coming around, I'm trying to hear what you're saying, and in your annotations, I want to see you identifying the bias in both articles. But we're starting with Fox, so really, I don't care about your political opinions. Okay? Does that make sense? Like, your political opinion should not play into this. What you think of Fox, what you personally feel about Fox, should not play into it. You are just trying to see how is Ingram trying to influence her audience. Okay? That's what you're focusing on. Okay? So don't let your political opinions influence you. You're looking for specifically her bias. How do we see her bias playing into her audience specifically? And how do we see those rhetorical techniques trying to shape that argument? That's going to be your focus today. And remember, I want to hear you talking. You're in a group. I should not walk around to a group and see you silently annotating. You should be reading it together. The whole point of putting you together is so that you share your insights together, because Ben is going to see things that Ava doesn't see, and Ava is going to see things that Ben doesn't see. So make sure you're writing it down together. Okay, so we're going to start with this process. You're going to examine that article. You're going to start annotating specifically for the bias. So it's something that can appeal to a large base then. Okay, great.
Basically just saying, like what we annotated yesterday was not this far. What we annotated yesterday was used to securitize.
So gas prices appeals to a large audience, right? Mm-hmm. And you're right, because everybody has to use that. That's something that no matter what class level you are, it's going to affect you.
She picks the one part where
even if you don't have a car, gas prices go up, bus fares go up.
Yep.
So it makes it seem like he's way more.
Then the emergency bulletin comes across your cell phone saying that for the foreseeable future, Americans are expected to limit travel to home, essential work, and maybe medical appointments. Now, why is this happening?
Yeah, she says
The
he's
UN
the
has
Tony
declared
He's the he's like the main.
I think in the video, when she said that, it was just kind of like, what's the word?
I think she's trying to do like a slogan. Or
It was just kind of like,
That same sarcastic kind of
yeah, it was sarcastic. It was just kind of like,
Have we written that down, the sarcastic tone?
yeah. We wrote it down on the first page, but
Okay.
yeah. So the fact that she's
But also this part where she talks about the UN has declared a global climate emergency. That's why. Now, why is this happening? Because the UN has declared a global climate emergency.
It makes them seem like the enemy.
Yes, very good. So who's the bad guy here?
the UN.
Hey y'all, there's a lot, listen, there's a lot of topics in this that you do not have context about. Like when it says Tony Fauci. Are you teaching about Tony Fauci right now? I love that you know that. I love that he knows that. But let's be honest, y'all listen. How many of y'all know already off the top of your head who Tony Fauci is? So then what I want you to do, if you don't know what it's referencing, I want you to, in your group, grab at least one Chromebook and look it up. You may need to look up who Tony Fauci is. You may need to look up who John Kerry is. You need to inform yourself. That's part of the process. We're trying to also gain knowledge here. Okay? You can't understand what she's saying unless you look up what she's saying. Okay? Who is Tony Fauci? Who is John Kerry? You may have to look that up. Okay? Keep doing what you're doing.
That's kind of a sarcastic tone,
And then she's following through to the next thing. Like, she's still giving the scenario here. Because she's saying you jump in your car and the gas stations are closed because there's no gas. And then that's when she goes into like Antonio. So I think it's just
She's just saying how it's going to be completely different and how we're going to be limited with almost everything that we have.
Saying that like we're not gonna have any money.
Yeah, they're gonna be broke after like all of this because China's not paying for any of it.
And then she's saying the climate agreement would slow the growth. So the climate agreement would be negative because it would slow the growth. So negative effect.
The climate agreement? Nuh-uh. It's talking about
They're saying China would never abide by the climate agreement that slowed the U.S. growth. Like it's gonna slow.
Whole front page.
The whole front page, he's like this whole thing, these two sentences.
Look at that annotation right there. That's pretty solid.
Proud of you.
We
Very
locked
proud of
in.
you.
We locked in a
we
little.
use several vocab words.
Hey.
We usually do.
Pompous,
Okay.
lugubrious,
Whimsical.
and
Okay.
whimsical, yeah.
Okay, so overall,
bite.
what are we saying about John Kerry? Let's focus on that. What do we know about John
He's the
Kerry?
Secretary of
He's
State.
a former United States Secretary of State.
To who, though?
To the United States. Let's look up.
Good job. What president? Because that tells you the political bias. Does that make sense? So you want to know.
If
to
he's
what-
Democrat or Republican.
Correct.
I bet he's a
He's probably Democrat.
Yeah, I bet he's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Now he's saying now he's nature's mind reader, and they're probably Republican, so they're mocking him.
He was Barack Obama's.
Oh, yeah.
Barack Obama is Secretary of State, right? Secretary of State? Okay. And what does she do right after we come back from what John Kerry says? Need one sheet of paper. We are not done. We're obviously going to continue annotating this tomorrow. We are going to finish watching the episode too, because I do think her tone, like actually hearing her tone, is really important at times. Because one thing that she did after she provided the Antonio Gutierrez clip, what did she do with her tone that you may not have read? She mocked him, but how did she mock him? She mocked his accent. She put on his accent and tried to sound like him. Yeah, that's something that we need to watch the episode for. So we will continue watching the episode tomorrow. Last little bit of class. I want you and your group to write down at least 2 purposes that you see her trying to do here. What are 2 purposes? And overall, what 3 strategies do you see her using? Make sure all of your names are on it. So we didn't get to finish the entire lesson today. We only got through the Fox News article, and this is a lesson that actually takes us usually 4 to 5 days, to be honest, to dig through both Fox News and MSNBC's rhetoric, and then debate which one is more persuasive, and then write a rhetorical analysis arguing and debating which one is more persuasive. Today we got through day 1, Fox News. I can tell that we definitely want to revisit some more of the current events content, because the kids actually need true context. They need to understand the context of the situations in order to truly interpret the bias that they're seeing. The next time we do this lesson, I know that the AP exam uses a lot of graphs and asks the kids questions about graphs and how statistics and actual visual data can be used to also manipulate us. And so I definitely want to focus on not just the verbal manipulation, but also the graphs that we see being used to manipulate as well, because that's a little bit more difficult for them to see. They take data and statistics as just fact and don't think about how even that data can be skewed to push our own opinions. I also always ask my kids what topics they want to cover. So, you know, next year it may not be climate change that we read about. Next year it may be about schools and education. It's really just depending on the students and what they value and what they feel is interesting to them. So after today's lesson, they're going to start the MSNBC and they're going to analyze the MSNBC article for their rhetoric. This will end up building to an essay response. That essay is actually on their AP English language and composition test. So the essay is set up to mimic exactly what their exam will look like. And that will be the culminating task for the MSNBC versus Fox News debate. The writing selection for their culminating writing task is actually going to be done in partners, and their partners are paired on level, and that's to make sure that they're helping each other elevate their writing, making it stronger, making it better, prepared for that AP English language and composition test. Thank you for coming into my classroom today, for sitting here and joining me and my students and watching us dissect the news. I love this class because it's such an important skill for our kids. It means the world to me, and I can't wait to see these kids go out into their bigger and brighter future. Thank you.